An abandoned academy that once was home to a high school and then a religious retreat that was home to a silly... It didn't come out right.
Nice silly killer.
He was a silly killer.
So silly.
An abandoned academy that was once home to a high school and then a religious retreat that was home to a serial killer monk.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Meg.
This is the Yore Town Podcast. The St. Augustinian. I did it on purpose so you could help me out there. Academy located in Grimes Hill area near Staten Island. The academy was a pretty interesting history, but it's more interesting to me that there isn't a lot of documented history on this. So we're going to go off a lot of reports and stories that we were able to find, and we'll give you all the sources towards the end. But it was founded on May 30th, 1899, in conjunction with the new Roman Catholic parish of Our Lady of Good Counsel, both by the Augustinian Friars. I wonder if that's why the basketball team is the Providence Friars. Probably not. The academy did expand in 1926 and then closed in 1969, probably because of Woodstock. That added about 250 priests to the Augustinian order. The academy was dedicated by Archbishop Sebastiano Martinelli on September 10th, 1899, and officially opened on September 13th as the Catholic High School of Richmond Borough. And you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with a murdering monk? Well, keep listening because it's a pretty interesting piece of history that is going to get more and more twisted. The original program of study comprised classical, commercial, and grammar courses and was soon accredited by the University of the State of New York. The valuation of the academy and church property was about $100,000 in 1914, which was about how much money in 2022, Meg?
$3 million.
That is wild. That's a lot of money into the education of this school. But let's jump into it because I really want to tell people, because not every story and not every episode on a lot of podcasts talk about a monastery monk murderer. You're thinking monastery. That is what this place also was known as a nickname, as the Monastery, which pretty original, I guess. But let's jump into this. So the monastery monk murderer goes like this. About 60 years ago, a bunch of, well, you guessed it, monks lived in this academy, in this property near Staten Island, in solitude and silence. Located on the third sublevel. That's right, third sublevel. So it went down more than just a basement. So we're talking probably what?
I think they said about 30 sublevels. It's unknown though.
Yeah, it's unknown how there, but I mean, we're at least 30, 40 foot deep, right?
Story, like levels.
Yeah.
Not feet.
No, but I'm saying, I mean, at least, that's pretty deep, regardless how much the sublevel is. But what it is it does appear to be the monks' living quarters, and they were very small, cramped rooms. These were the rooms that they would obviously, allegedly, spend a lot of times living in that complete solitude. But the strange thing, amongst other things, with these rooms is they had scratch marks on them. It almost looked like fingernails were embedded in these scratches. I mean, that's some stuff that you see in horror movies.
Yeah. And it says they looked like they were being locked from the outside.
Yikes.
So they were unable to get out.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing because obviously the religious aspect to it, the monks and stuff, it makes you wonder if that's really is, if they're locking them from the outside. Or I'd have to imagine if you're just in complete solitude for a long time, your probably mind goes crazy, and potentially you could too, and keep hearing the story, because one really did, unfortunately. But we're in that third sublevel, and with explorers and people that are trying to piece together these, they're able to at least go down another 10 sublevels before the modern day stairs that are there right now just start getting too shaky. They're just old, they're getting beat up, and nobody's wants to risk falling and to who knows how many. I mean, that's going to be a bad way to find out how many sublevels there really are and what's beneath, which again sounds kind of horror movie-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we do know is, that there was a monk who just kind of snapped went crazy and actually went on a killing spree, massacred all the other monks, and dragged their bodies down to a secret sublevel, which they're not sure which one, where it is, or anything like that. But like I said, and just absolutely mutilated their bodies. Ugh. I mean, if there was to be a movie, that would be a pretty dark, wild movie. I'm wondering if there isn't. I wonder why there hasn't been yet.
I know.
But there's also a couple of other crazy stories that happened in there when this building, the academy, the monastery, was in use. Obviously, the different sublevels that we talked about, but they actually used the different sublevels for different kids and, the education. They were held on all these different levels, but apparently a fire broke out and actually caused the stairs to collapse, killing and trapping 82 kids. Couldn't imagine. And obviously, with present day buildings, you've seen them, whether in person or on TV, they just start to become disheveled is the word, just covered in vines, creepy trees. And for some reason, Satan worshipers kind of start to gravitate. And this is another one where Satan worshipers started to meet at the monastery, and kids have been going to here, just kind of throwing parties, graffiti work. It is pretty close to present day Wagner College. And, with so many sub levels, you're able to kind of navigate and just kind of free roam the building. Apparently, even if it's boarded up, people tend to find their way to get in there. But go ahead.
Late night thrill seekers,
graffiti,
yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of paranormal investigators that not only check this out, but it is a pretty booming business. A lot of, entertainment value in there, and a lot of people that are just curious. And some of these people say that you can go on a short walk around the building. You can obviously see an out-of-commission water fountain, which seemed to have been at one point a shape of a cross. Now it's just kind of chipped and just weeds and overgrown everything. Naturally, an abandoned building in Staten Island, like we talked about, is going to be covered in graffiti on the higher levels, but as you travel lower and lower into the surface, signs of life just becomes less evident. The underground hallways are a maze that travels God only knows how low beneath the surface. And people investigating this, and they were on the 7th sublevel, found a giant stone in the middle of a room where the ceiling was not caved in at all. Neither were the walls, which makes you wonder how it really got in there. But in the same room, they found candles and something that made apparently the hair stand right on their back of their necks, marks on one of the ancient wood doors, like we talked about a little bit earlier, as if they were locked from the outside, like someone had tried to actually claw their way out of the room. And sitting in that, I couldn't even imagine just the thought that you're in this room, which who knows what happened.
With no light or anything.
No light, no sound.
I mean, maybe they did have like candlelight, but
yeah, that's crazy. Other reports that it appeared that there was animal sacrifices. Animal bones had been found. There was actually the cups filled with blood. Cats actually that were hung were still remnants of the cats being hung, and just crazy kind of looking writing on the walls have been seen everywhere. Just a lot of strange things. There was a couple other reports that we saw on the internet, and it just kind of just so many dark stories from potential jail cells for whatever reason in there. And I mean, with a place like that, with a history that, opened up in the 1800s, 1899, and then, shut down in 1969, so many crazy stories. And there's probably just a lot of stuff that we'll never really know what happened in there. And it's a scary thing. Like I said, we're probably never going to know what actually happened in this abandoned monastery. But one thing that we do know is the stories, the creepy building, like kind of you said, the thrill seekers, the paranormal investigators, they're going to continue to probably check this building out as long as the building holds up. And maybe, we'll continue to figure out a couple of things that really did happen there.
Yeah. I feel like there's only so much they can do as far as the safety of the building. I mean, you don't want to get hurt.
No.
Trying to investigate.
And that's one thing too, when we were doing some research, I was trying to see, maybe these thrill seekers, maybe these college kids in their party, and maybe these satanic worshipers, maybe somebody went a little bit too far, and, whether there was a death, there was, an accident, there was I can't find anything on this police report or a police report of an accident or anything happening there, whether it's being covered up But speaking of covered up, there was actually some other stories of when the school was kind of going on. There was a lot of shady stuff going on, which, of yore in the past, there's a lot of things that do happen that are pretty sketchy, but there was a lot of mobster ties with the academy at the time as well. And there was all these reports of how police, the mayor, the president of the academy, and kind of everybody was in on the payroll of, again, the kind of mobsters that were leading this. So there was a lot of dark things that were happening with murders and cover-ups, and maybe that would explain the jail cells a little bit, and it'd be the perfect place, I think, with mobsters, Staten Island, Jersey close, where you could just do some things, hide some people, and not have to do the whole brick in the water thing. You just put them 30 feet down in there, because there was lots of reports of potential when the monk went on the spree. Just obviously we saw that, just throwing them down to who knows how deep in that 30, 40 sublevels.
Foul smells.
Terrible smells
reported.
Yep. Lots of weird happenings, obviously, whether you believe in the paranormal or not. There's a lot of things going on there. But for me, we were talking a little bit before we pressed record about what else would you use 30, or even if it's just 10 sublevels below an already huge building with levels. What was it about? What would it have been built for? Even if in the late 1800s, why would they build that low below the surface?
Never know.
I'm never going to know, but hopefully somebody is able to kind of figure this out and let us know, because it's a cool thing. But another thing that really does intrigue me is we spent hours navigating the internet to, add some more credibility, add some more to these stories, and there's just not much on this. And I mean, if it's a good cover up, if it's, a lot of dark history, it could easily, I guess, be covered up. And we tried to find something from the St. Lawrence Republican, which has made some kind of article in almost every episode, and they had nothing on this building, which would make sense from Plattsburgh. Staten Island is quite the haul, but it's just, I don't know. To me, I think it's even more intriguing
that there's going to say the same thing,
that there's just nothing out there. But there's all these reports and these
alluring about it.
Yeah, and these folklore, and just everybody's like, yeah, this happened. I know this happened. My great-great-grandfather was there, and just those kind of reports. And, maybe they're not 100% credible, but let's be honest, there's some kind of truth to every story and some rumors. Either way, there was an article a topic that we found very interesting. And obviously, if you're still listening, you found it interesting too. So can't thank you enough. If you want to, go check out the other articles and the other stories. It'd be pretty cool. Sources. I got this cool book called Weird New York, and it was written by Chris Gethard. Yeah, Gethard. A lot of cool stuff in there, and I know that we've been reading it, and even before we pressed record, we're like, oh, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about this one. Let's talk about this one. So a lot of really cool stuff. So just an awesome book. And what was the tagline on the front of the book that was a little more intriguing as well? It was Weird New York.
Your travel guide to New York's local legends and best kept secrets.
There we go. Secrets. And this is the first one that I have personally read. And I mean, it's holding true. The secrets. I mean, secret. I got a secret is, we should be playing that in the background. I don't think they're going to allow that, but, and also Wikipedia, another good source that we pretty much use. And I think everybody still uses it. And like I said, we looked at a lot of stuff. And if you don't believe me, just go ahead and Google. There was a couple more websites that had articles from Weird New York. Not a lot of stuff out there, which is more intriguing. If we do find some good information, we will definitely do a follow-up episode, and we'll call it the part 2 of the monastery. What is it? Monastery murdering monk. But that was fun. Appreciate you joining, Megh, as always. Let's leave you guys with a quote, like we always do. There's a difference between solitude and loneliness. I can understand the concept of being a monk for a while. That was by Tom Hanks.
Nice.
I think it was from like Brainy Quote or something like that website. So yeah, pretty good one. Can't thank again anybody that truly listened to all of this. Can't thank you enough. We're going to be back next week. Could be Megh, could be Zach, could be just me. What are we going to talk about? Not sure. No spoiler alerts here, but it is going to be something from the lovely state of New York, and it's going to be something that's old, because that's what we do here in the Yore Town Podcast. We'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. That was fun. You had fun?
Yep.
That's good. All right. That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Until next time, take care, everybody.